everyone. Thanks for joining me on this very brisk day here in New England. It's beautiful outside. It's very, very sunny and very bright, but it's also very chilly, and it's only the beginning of October. So I saw an article in the Business of Fashion that I wanted to chat with you all about, and it says, why fashion is maxing out on minimalism. I thought this was really interesting given the conversations we've had about quiet luxury and also just the way that we see makeup lately ties into this. So we've had conversations about the fact that, right, a lot of times the makeup we've seen lately has been, quote, boring. Like, it's not new shades, it's the same neutrals over and over, it's not special packaging, blah, blah, blah. But that it sells, right? So when, a makeup brand and it could be a fashion brand like Chanel or Prada. I mean, these are brands that do way more than just beauty. In fact, some of them are just new to the beauty market. When they come out with their neutrals and everyone says they're nothing new, they're nothing foreign, but they sell out, I think that sends the message very clearly that it's what the public wants. So I was reading this article and it says, the Rose Success. If you're not familiar with the Row, it's a brand that Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen from, oh my goodness, I just forgot the name of the show, of that TV show with John Stamos. Wow, okay. You know which one I'm talking about. And all of this, the straight to videos that they did, they created the Row and they have done extremely well with it. And this article talks about a recent investment from the families behind Chanel and L'Oreal. They recently got outside investment from those companies, and that the Row is the most prestigious example of a rising generation of women-led independent brands that sell minimalistic, approachably chic clothing. And some of them have billion-dollar aspirations of their own. First of all, I love the fact that we're talking about women-led independent companies. That's like right up my alley. But it says the Row, Kate, spelled Khaite, and Toteme are three of the most prominent examples of brands benefiting from a post-quiet luxury desire for pared down beautiful clothes in luxe materials with just the right amount of design. Now, I don't know about all of you, but I find that kind of happened was before COVID, there was a particular aesthetic, a particular design. Now, I was always I grew up here in New England. I worked in Washington, D.C., so I lived in D.C. for a long time. But the aesthetic is definitely quiet luxury / businesswoman kind of aesthetic, right? So I was never wearing a ton of logos, and I was never wearing like really flashy, exotic type things anyway. And although I can admire them and be like, wow, that looks great on someone else, I don't really feel particularly comfortable in it. So I was immediately drawn to the Row and Kate and Toteme when they launched. But when COVID happened and everybody, let's be all honest, guys, come on, I think we can be honest with one another. When I was on Zoom calls, I was wearing sweatpants. I was wearing joggers. There was no way I was wearing, as my sister would call them, hard pants. I was wearing whatever was comfortable. And in the summer months, I was wearing shorts. Now I had on appropriate, clothing on the upper half of my body. So people would, know I was dressed up for the professional sense of the meeting, but I was wearing joggers. Well, I mean, come on, or shorts. So coming out of that and going back to the office and trying to sort of re-enter, the hard pants society, I think there was a bunch of, especially women, who were frankly tired of having to wear uncomfortable clothing and uncomfortable shoes and uncomfortable earrings and just frankly being uncomfortable. Like, I think a lot of us, including myself, were like, why do I have to wear a pantsuit that, is not comfortable and my jacket's too tight and I can't breathe and my heels hurt? Like, why? It has nothing to do with my capability or competency. So I think a little bit of rant there. I think a lot decided to do a professional look for women or a casual look for women that was about quality and showing that, it's a simple, streamlined, elegant look, but with more comfort. And there's a number of brands that are doing this. Most of them are American and found and mostly are designed by women. Sumptuous fabrics and no frills look with high fashion sensibility. I just love this. So there's a bunch of them, and there's a couple of different ones that they mentioned in this article, and I wanted to mention them to all of you because these are brands I'm going to start taking a look at. One is called TWP, which was founded by former Theory designer Trish Westcott Pound. They were being carried by a New York boutique in 2023 downtown. And in that year, the owner had sold 2,500 of the brand's shirts, one of the highest sell-throughs that they had seen for an emerging label. So they have elevated basics, crisp boyfriend shirts, more comfortable, not as cut as tight, like, they look elegant, look professional, but also, you can breathe, and wide-legged pleated trousers. Again, comfort, but looks professional, looks good. And one of the things they say is quiet luxury's moment in the zeitgeist might be over, but the trend left in its wake a thriving market for minimalist, approachably chic clothes with just the right amount of design. Black blazers, uniquely cut lapels, a jersey top with a special neckline, and that the Row was the one that did that the best. And of course, they just got a funding round that valued the brand over $1 billion, which is absolutely amazing. So the other brands that they mentioned were the following: Posse, Posse, Lisette, which I actually know of and have wanted to buy things from, Rucha, Roucha, and the Frankie Shop, which I absolutely love. I actually have a couple pieces from the Frankie Shop. Then there's the Australian brand Saint Agni, the Los Angeles-born Co., New York-based labels Kalmeyer, Nilly Loughton, Attersea, and then the TWP, which I mentioned. And they all fall, below the Row, Kate, and Totem in the price point. Because a Row sweater easily is $1,500. They're beautiful, but, incredibly expensive. So all of those brands are going to have really nice knitwear, really elevated basics, black blazers, boyfriend shirts, nice draped pants that drape well, that are going to fall below those, but maybe a little bit higher than something else. And I honestly have to say that when I see these brands and I've started looking at their designs, these are exactly what I would design if I was designing clothes. Lisette, which sells dressy knit loungewear, opened its first store in New York's West Village recently, just last month in September. Kalmeyer has sophisticated crew neck button-up jackets. They staged their debut on the runway at New York Fashion Week. So, those are pretty big deals. And one of the things that they say in the Business of Fashion article is that fashion has a long history of female designers blending form and function. Coco Chanel helped lead the charge to casualize women's clothing. And we don't think of Chanel as casualizing women's clothing, but it's exactly what happened because it took away the need to wear a corset. So literally they were wearing, restricting corsets before Chanel. In the 90s, Donna Karan did the same thing for like a corporate ready group of women who really hadn't been in the business world before. And technically I was one of those women. I got out of law school. It was by a thread, but it was very, very late 90s. And then we saw Phoebe Philo with Celine having a modern, simplicity, a streamlined nature to the clothing and to bags and jewelry that we really hadn't seen before. And of course that started a whole new way of looking at, women's clothing. So I feel like there's this new group of women. I mean, I'm sure there's men designers as well, but I thought this was an interesting topic specifically about how these are well-designed essentials, but they're just a little bit different or designed in such a way that they can stand out, but still be an elevated basic that feels comfortable on your body. Something that works for all women, that works for most women. I think that's really important. And I also think that since the pandemic, wardrobes have relaxed. Now, part of that, like I said, it was, all of us on Zoom calls wearing our joggers and our shorts, and our tops. But I think it's also it's just time. Like, I think over time, there is a relaxation of dressing codes. If you go all the way back, of course, women were wearing corsets and couldn't wear pants. Men wore hats. Men always had a hat on, right? Women wore hats. That over time has stopped. So there is a relaxation of the dress code over time, just in general. I don't mean dressing slovenly. I don't mean going out in your pajama pants. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're somebody who goes out in pajama pants, I'm not coming after you. I get it. I truly get it. I mean, my dog, Ellie, she's getting up earlier and earlier, guys. I don't know what's going on. But this morning, she woke me up at 6:15. I do not need to be up at 6:15. I don't have kids to get ready, so I was not happy. And I'm not a morning person. I've said that before. I don't do well in the morning. So I was just like, really? Harper will sleep until Harper will just sleep. Harper might sleep through the day if I didn't wake him up. But Ellie is now, I don't know what she's doing. Anyway, so I get up and I throw on sweatpants, joggers, whatever you call them, a sweatshirt, which is what I'm wearing right now. And, if I need a jacket and a hat and go out the door. And you can see a little Harper right there. I do not look pulled together. I do not look cute. My neighbors are probably like, what is that? I mean, it's rough, okay? But, I've just woken up out of bed and I'm walking the dog, okay? And it's around my neighborhood. I'm not going into a store. I'm not going to work. I'm walking around the neighborhood. I feel like there is a certain level of decorum. There's a certain level of sartorial elegance that I expect from myself when I am going to work, when I'm going to, a place of business. If I'm going to go hang out with my friends, or I'm going to go to a park, or if I'm going to go pick apples or something, there's different clothes for different events, right? I'm not wearing a 3-piece suit to, grocery shopping. I mean, you can, but I'm probably not going to. So I don't mean that. I just mean that there's more room for comfort in the clothes that we wear. And I'm specifically calling out women, but I don't want to exclude men in this conversation because let's face it, it should be a conversation for everybody, right? About comfort in your clothing. You shouldn't have to wear clothes that are uncomfortable for a 10-hour day in the office. That's not necessary. There are fabrics now that have stretch to them. There are fabrics that are softer. You can wear things and look good. You can have both. It used to be, let's be honest, that especially for jeans. I remember jeans in the 80s. Those things, they did not stretch. They were stiff and you poured yourself into them or you didn't. But now, you can wear jeans and they're stretchy and they're comfortable and they can look great on everybody, which is a phenomenal thing. I love the way the jeans have progressed, the denim has progressed. And suits can do the same thing, so can knits. And I think that's what a lot of the designers are focusing on. They have this ability now to do something that they couldn't do before, not only because of the fabrics and the things that have, frankly, been invented, but also because people are calling for it. And I think some of that does come from the more casual nature that we developed during COVID and during the pandemic. So one of the designers, Kalmeyer, she said, if I can remove the friction of time getting dressed in the morning from my customers, I'm giving them clarity. And that's the thing that I hear from all my friends and from myself, frankly. I don't know what to wear, or I have so much and I can't pick something. You just want simple. You just want easy. I've talked about this with my jewelry. These are Ana Luisa earrings. They're just simple and easy to do. You can put different designers on them. I feel the same way about my Ideal jewelry. Again, modular, easy, classic. that's, you know, what I go for these days. And I want the same in my clothes. And in some ways, I want the same thing in my beauty. Like, I don't want, you know, I don't want it to be super complex because I don't have time for that. One other thing that I thought that was interesting to note is that these designers, many of these smaller designers, do not put a lot of money into marketing. They depend on word of mouth, which is probably considered quaint in these days, but that's how things used to get done to a certain extent. Like, you know, people would know of the designer or know of the brand, and that would be the thing that would differentiate a one, like the Row, for example. If you've ever seen their quote marketing or their emails or their ads, they're not the designers. They're like, they talk about music or art. And you're like, okay. It's not about marketing the particular items. It's that you know the quality is good. You've seen it. You've seen the people who wear it. And that's kind of what these designers are doing, which I think, you know, I think it's really interesting. And I wonder if it's going to be, I think it is here to stay, but I don't know. So I just thought this was really interesting to see how this progresses. Because it is very much my aesthetic. It is very much how I would like to dress. It's very much how I would hope the fashion industry would progress to a certain extent, for a certain percentage of the market. I never was the kind of person who was like heavy into the over logo thing. I have no problem with logos. I think there are some logos that are absolutely like outstanding. I've done an amazing job. Fendi is one that I actually really like the logo with the FFs. The Carlography logos I think are great. But overall, I've always preferred a more subtle logo effect. So if these designers are really, you know, they don't even necessarily have a logo. They have a design differential. So you'll know it's a Kate piece because of the cut, or you'll know it's a Totem sweater because of the nature of the sweater. If it doesn't occur to you, like off the top of your head, Totem, think of the sweater that became super popular that had the turtleneck, and it was a cream and it had black and white stripes across it. That was the Totem sweater that like kind of took off. The Row is pretty much everything is oversized and looks like, you know, very voluminous. The Frankie Shop has a very similar design feature and aesthetic. So like these designers, they have an elevated basic. It's the boyfriend shirt, it's the black blazer, it's the well-cut pants, it's the excellent knitwear. But there's usually one element that's a little different, whether it's the bell sleeve or a scrunch sleeve or a certain type of neckline, that type of thing. And that's what differentiates the basic. And that's how you tell what brand it is. Like that's sort of the inside key, if you will. So I'd love to hear from all of you what your thoughts are on all this. Do you think this is a good thing, a bad thing? Do you own any of these brands? Have you heard of these quote newer brands, these emerging brands? What is it that you're looking for in designs? I am going to be doing a sort of fashion, like elemental basics, you know, kind of a video to talk about like how you can take sort of a simple basic, if you will, wardrobe and then add something like particularly unique and expensive to it, like a designer piece to it. And then have sort of a capsule wardrobe in that way. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this because I feel like it very much is in opposition to kind of the logo mania that we've had for a very long time. And it is quiet luxury, but it's not specifically quiet luxury. It's more, I think more of that elevated basic and like wearable kind of clothing lines. And I think that goes to purses and jewelry as well, which is maybe why we're seeing more like oversized bags, because let's face it, guys, we all have a ton of stuff that we throw in our bags. So thanks so much for joining me today, guys. I can't wait to hear what you think about all of this, and I hope to see you in another video really soon. Bye.